Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Steel Target Paint Podcast. This is the first one for 2022. Of course, my big mouth is Jeff Jones, and the co-host that everybody likes better is Steve Foster. Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Jeff. How are you?
How's your 2022 shaping up so far?
Better than 2021.
Well, that's good. That's good. So I was very fortunate to already have shot a major this weekend. Although it was not in steel, it was in USPSA. We had the Florida State USPSA state
Whatever that
championships.
organization.
Yes, exactly. It's the tongue-tiedness, no, but we had the Florida State USPSA state championships held at the WAC. And we are very fortunate to have Kyle Stevens with us, who was one of the range masters. Kyle, welcome to the podcast.
Appreciate you guys having me.
So, yeah, Steve, we, you've been to the WAC and you shot it in steel, and we used all the back bays and the multi-purpose bay where we shoot showdown, but we added a couple of other bays that had some speed shoots and a classifier. And so the shooters got 11 stages of shooting plus a stop at chrono. And I got to shoot it on Friday, and then I worked it Saturday, Sunday as a CRO in one of the stages. And as I mentioned, Kyle was a range master. Kyle, what is your opinion on how the whole match ran?
I don't think the match could have gone any better. Short of maybe a little bit of a music debacle with a car show next to us on Sunday afternoon. It went pretty much perfect. I kept saying throughout the day, you go into these things with a certain expectation of weird things happening. And I kept saying it's going too smooth. Something is going to happen because it was running too well. And that actually speaks volumes on the two match directors, Dan Bernard and Mark Walker. Those guys always do a phenomenal job at putting on matches, and I've learned a lot from them over the years.
No, absolutely. And the music Kyle's referring to, for those that have been to the WAC and know, there's a racetrack not too far away. And I think the racetrack may have been rented out for the yearly Latin American festival, because we were getting a lot of Latin American music played quite loud.
Awesome. I like it.
I kept trying to figure out what it was. I think it was a car show or an audio show, because there were so many different sources of music.
Okay.
And all sorts of different types. Like there was R&B and Latin, and it was everywhere.
I was on what we call I think the 7 bays are the north bays, and the 3 bays, 3 areas where we had 4 stages, and chrono were the south bays. And I drove up to the south area and was sitting there, and there's a lot less shooting noise. And you're right, there was a considerable amount of difference. I definitely heard some Michael Jackson, but there was a lot of Latin music that I had heard. So that's why I thought it might have been the Latin festival. So it was definitely interesting. But yeah, we didn't have any, we were fortunate. All the stages stayed tight from what I could tell, and we stayed on schedule. And that's something I think most match directors and range masters want to make sure happen, is that the shooters are flowing and people are enjoying it. I think in general, I didn't hear a single bad word about the match.
How many
I think it went
people
really
shot
well.
the match?
How many people shot the match? That's a really
good question. It was just
question.
under 300, if I'm not mistaken.
As
wow.
I do a quick pop in here to practice score, I've got 259 people finish the match. So it was a good day, and a good weekend. So, well, Steve, the other reason.
One of the
go
things
ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the things that went really well, in my opinion, and it's because of the awesome staff that we had, both from in-state, from our area, and then also we had a lot of people travel and work the match also. I didn't have a single calibration call. There was obviously a few scoring calls, as you're going to have, but I didn't even have to shoot my calibration gun once the entire weekend, which means that the staff was doing their job, keeping up on maintaining their steel. We had a lot of props and movers, no reshoots because of that I know of. So that's just, the staff did an amazing job keeping things flowing.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Steve, if you've been on Facebook in the last week and a half or so, you may also have heard Kyle's name, because Kyle is putting his name in the ring for Area 6 director, and that's the other reason why I wanted him to have on the podcast, give him a chance to just talk about why. Everybody's got their reasons, but what he hopes to bring to the organization as an area director. And there's some good pregnant pauses.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Jeff. Why on earth would anybody want to be an area director? Unpaid position, especially in Area 6. Not that there's ever any drama out of Area 6, but go ahead.
Yeah. Just
well,
once
Kyle,
a week at the minimum.
in general, why don't you just share, your initial thoughts as to, your reasons for putting your name in the hat?
The easiest way to say it is I've always tried to be in this sport the guy that if I notice something is wrong, I don't like to complain about it. You just find a way to fix it. I remember when I first started, I would, routinely get weird calls that didn't make a lot of sense. I'd go up and look the rules up later, and of course they were wrong. So I decided, hey, you know what? I'll just fix this problem and I'll become an RO. Then I started shooting a lot more majors and noticing the stages weren't being, maintained correctly or run correctly. Weird little things that I thought I could bring from an efficiency standpoint and just overall experience. So I became a CRO. And then I saw, guys like Dan Bernard just working every single major match in the South and just burning himself out. I won't put words in his mouth, but I mean, he looked like he was definitely having a tough time towards the end of it. And, a lot of people complain about the older generation that we have running matches as RMs and the way that they view and enforce the rules. So I became an RM.
If I'm not mistaken, aren't you the youngest RM to date?
To date, yes. And I'm actually, it's one of the records that I have in that regard that I really hope gets broken sooner rather than later. We need younger people. Talk to Drew Coleman about doing it next year. If he gets through, which he should, he would then be the youngest, which would be awesome. But there's a few of those, records that I think should be broken, and I hope they do get broken soon. But the one I get to hold on to is being the only GM RM and the first ever GM RM in USPSA, which I think that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
I mean, it shows a level of commitment to shooting, and then, the RM program, and I've known Kyle for a couple of years, and while I didn't see what he went through. What's that, Kyle?
I was going to say, actually, you showed up to the little club that I got my start at as your first match too.
Absolutely. Yep. It was, if you think the WAC is an interesting place to have a match, this was a complete indoor range. And
really?
Yeah, I've got a great story about that if everybody wants it too.
Oh, we'll hear that in a minute. But yeah, one of the things that I found was the most interesting, and it makes perfect sense why they do it, is that after the match, guys come through with brooms and squeegees to get the brass off of the ground, because if you think brass on a range is like ice, it's even worse when it's on concrete. So yeah, Kyle, give us that story. What's that story?
Hey, hang on one second before you get into that, Kyle.
Okay.
So you mentioned that you're the youngest range master and GM. How old are you, Kyle?
36.
36? You're still a young
I got
lad.
my RM certificate. Yeah, when I was 35, slightly beating out Jody Human, who's I'm sure everybody knows is just a phenomenal range master in her own right, and I believe she's second in command or third command, right behind Troy.
Yeah.
And do you know, Kyle, offhand, how many range masters are currently active for the USPSA?
Active is tough.
Yeah.
There are a lot that, we have our own RM forum that a lot of people participate in. And it's generally like, we operate in the gray area of the rules. So we bring up weird stuff that happens and we all talk about it and try to come to a general consensus.
As an RO, we have to maintain our certifications and recertify every year. Is there something similar for the range masters do you have to actually do, at least range master one match every X number of years? Is there anything like that? Or is it just maintaining it by, staying up on the rules?
Exactly. Yeah, no, there is a minimum requirement. I don't want to misquote it by any means, but I know that it involves either being a range master for a level 2 or CROing a stage at nationals. And there's some other stuff in there.
Okay.
I've never really been one to look at the minimums. So
right.
I don't really have a problem with maintaining my status. Whatever they're doing, I don't know.
Good. Kyle, why do you think that there's not as many younger folks that are, range masters, CROs, those types of things?
I think a lot of it has to do with time and just the general stigma of the NRI Corps. We've been doing a much better job the last few years getting younger people in and getting them involved with the sport. And, I'm super fortunate that I grew up in the area that I did and that I started shooting in the area I did because we have such a strong volunteer culture.
Right.
And shooting across the country, not everywhere has that culture. There are some pockets that have the same thing that we have, but there are some places that it's purely a pay for play. Here's my entertainment dollars. And, they just show up, shoot, and leave. And it's hard to get younger people involved when, number one, they're strapped for time because they're trying to build a life. They may have kids. It's tough to get those people in and working matches. And I think everybody understands that, but it would be nice to see the other side where they do come out and help.
Excellent.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. So what's the funny story about, if I Take Aim, I think is the name of the range. Is it still Take Aim?
Exactly.
And
I think, I don't even know if you remember. So you showed up, just.
I remember exactly what happened my first match. I will relate that.
One stage.
Yep. I shot one stage.
Shoot one stage.
And then quit.
Thanks guys. I really had fun. I'm going to go.
No, it was shoot the first stage, having never shot, didn't even know necessarily anything about this game. With my shield, I bought mag pouches at the range that night. Okay. The gun jammed on the first stage 3 times. I was freaking out because I didn't even know how to clear a jam. And because it had never jammed before on me. And when I'm done. And I remember because I think Bob Paul might have been the match director at that time. And he took me over to the safe table and he's like, he pulled out his gun. He's like, here, shoot my gun. And, I'm like, no, I can't do this. I gotta go. And
I had fun. I'll be back next week.
Yeah. Well, for the next couple of days, I was like, I don't even know if I like this sport because I didn't even finish. And the guy that had told me about that match let me borrow his Glock and carry optics. And I came down and I have video of the second match of me in jeans and biker boots because I rode my motorcycle down there, shooting this match and finishing. And the rest has been history. But I met a lot of guys down there. I met you. I met Sale, Izzo.
Yep.
And of course Bob Paul and Bob's now doing a lot of shooting at the wax. So that was quite the first impression for me in the sport. And now it's just like, I haven't drank I drank the Kool-Aid, drank the Kool-Aid, ate the cookies, whatever you want to say. Everybody knows I'm in this for the long haul. So that was quite an interesting first match.
I really love that match. It's where I got my start also. I got dragged to it, and same thing. I was instantly hooked. And as I progressed through the sport and got better and better, one of the things that I always told myself is that I would maintain going there if I can, every single week. Because I remember going there and there were some better shooters that kind of mentored me and got me started on the next level and took me to like my first level 1 USPSA match. And I wanted to go back and give back and do the same exact thing. So I still go there. I still set up stages every week that I can. I'm still there running the timer, doing everything I can to help in case somebody like me comes up and wants to get involved in the sport.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. That's really cool. How long ago was this, Jeff? You shot your first USPSA match?
Man, I think this June or this May, I will have been in the sport, I want to say 6 years.
Sweet.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So I think it was 2016 when I shot my first USPSA match. And of course, then, I find out about the WAC, which Take Aim is about 45 minutes away from me. The WAC is 20 minutes away from me. So I go to the WAC on a Friday night and I walk up and, Joe Homelash is the Friday night match director. And I introduced myself and he's like, have you ever shot this game before? And I went, well, I said I shot it once because it was really like 1.5 times that I actually shot it. So I just said once. He's like, do you know the range commands? And I went through, and what you're supposed to do, unload and show clear hammer down holster. And he's like, okay, yeah. And he's like, let them know you're a new shooter on the squad, like we do for all the new shooters. And, we recommend you go last so you can see what everybody's doing. And I'll never forget. I just left the hog group, the Harley owners group that I was in, and I was the president there. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be a shooter. I'll come help build. And that's it. And now, years later, I'm an RO. And the only reason I'm not a CRO is because I'm always out of town whenever we get the CRO class at the WAC. Or I'd be a CRO, and they're building stages, and now the match director for the steel match, and I've run USPSA matches for during the week when we need backup. And Kyle alluded to something that is very true. The crew at the WAC is amazing, and what was really nice about this is that we had some other staff members that came from other clubs in the local area to help out. And so it was, while a match was held at the WAC, it was supported by multiple clubs across the state. And that's pretty cool too. That we're all getting together to make this as positive an experience for the shooters as possible. So yeah, I think I'm coming up on 6 years, getting old. I heard Kyle 36 years old. I'm like, oh my God.
Are you old enough to be his daddy, Jeff? Just let's be honest. Let's get it out there.
I would have to have been promiscuous at a very young age, but it is possible. And Kyle's very happy I'm not his dad. We're friends. That's good enough.
Yeah, that took a left-hand turn. All right.
Yeah,
and we thank you for that,
Steve.
Steve.
That was pretty dark.
Well, Kyle, so you're going to run for A6 director, and based on what you just expressed, you're a take action type of person. You're not just one to sit back and point fingers and complain. If you see something that needs fixing and you feel you can help fix it, you're gonna go for it. And you've gone through that path of RO to CO to RM, and now you've looked at the ability to run for an A6 director. And we're not going to throw anybody to the bus here because we try to be a friendly podcast, but what is it that you think you're going to bring to that position that's going to help Area 6?
I think a lot of what I bring is just life experience, business experience. I tend to be very analytical when it comes to stuff that I'm passionate about. Even getting into when this whole thing got brought up, I never even planned to run for Area 6. It was actually us just kind of sitting around. I think it was a Classic Nationals last year or year before, whatever it was. And we were all sitting around the tailgate drinking beer, and some guys that I really, really respected, have been in the sport for a whole lot longer than me, said that I should run. And when when those guys say something like that, they obviously said it somewhat jokingly, but they meant it.
Mm-hmm.
So I took it kind of serious, and I began doing the research at least to see if I'd be viable. Would I be good? I'm pretty fortunate that my primary career choice when I was young led me to have a lot more free time now, and I get to start businesses that I enjoy. And the stuff that I've learned over the years with investing in business and stuff like that, I can somewhat bring towards this, but we're unique. So I spent some time doing research on nonprofits, executive roles in nonprofits, the governance, just tons of research, everything that I could at the time to see if I'd even be viable. And I think I'd do a pretty good job. One of the big things that I know that I would bring that I don't see that we have is our board right now tends to be a lot more reactive than proactive or forward thinking. So they almost wait for something to happen, and then when it happens, okay, let's fix it. Or maybe they're creating work for themselves. I don't know. But I think as a director, you should be directing the path of the organization. Mm-hmm. And that's probably what I bring more than anything is I want to look at the root causes of things. Like if we want to grow the membership, we don't just go out and advertise. We need to look at the volunteer culture, because if you bring a bunch of people in and they don't have somewhere to go, it does no good. We're basically, cost per customer, cost per acquisition is a moot point, because we're just getting people to the sport to turn them away. Mm-hmm. A lot of that goes with, I've been talking with match directors. I'm a match director. What does the organization do for the US or for clubs? And some people will say, some stuff, others will say absolutely nothing at all. And I think that's where, same thing, I can analyze, okay, should we have a forum for all match directors, section coordinators, and area directors that allow us to, communicate freely, not turn it into like a duty project type of deal where it's, a bunch of crazy people on there. And it becomes a tool that we can use to help promote and grow clubs, so that when we do go out and get new members, they have somewhere to go and they're going to a club that can help. Excellent. That was a really long-winded answer, but yeah,
it was generally good. It was solid.
Forward thinking.
Okay. Now, of course, we are named the Steel Target Paint podcast, and your GM, if I'm not mistaken, is in Open, correct?
Yeah.
In USPSA.
USPSA Open.
Yep. So, what's your experience with Steel Challenge for our listeners?
There's the hard question that everybody should key in on, right? I don't have a lot of experience with Steel Challenge.
Okay.
But I know that I don't have a lot of experience there, and I need to talk to people like yourself, like Steve. You guys are there every day. You're the ones putting the targets up. You're the ones doing all the work. You're the ones shooting the matches. Ultimately, if I'm going to be a representative, I need to be a representative and talk to the people that are involved in that sport. I guess it would be the same thing with multi-gun, right? Multi-gun has kind of fallen by the wayside for the same reason. We don't really listen to people, or the board doesn't currently really listen to people in multi-gun at all. And I don't want to be that guy. I want to be the one that, I might not shoot it a lot just from sheer time standpoint, running matches, doing stuff like that. I'm so heavily involved in USPSA. I would almost have to pull away a lot of my responsibilities in USPSA to spend a lot more time in Steel Challenge. But that doesn't mean that I don't care. And it doesn't mean that I know that it's a huge part of the sport. I mean, you guys sell out matches in like 10, 15 minutes. That's insane.
Yeah. World Speed Shoot was another crazy experience getting registered for that. And I will just add, third Saturday of every month, we have the match at the WAC. Would love to have you come up there and just experience it. And there's an opportunity to talk to a lot of steel shooters who maybe are just shooters and what their point about it is. And of course, I'm sure we've got, down here in Florida, we've got the Hanson Range in Punta Gorda. You've got Hernando. Volusia is a hike, but they run great matches over in Volusia. Lots of steel happening here in Florida. So, that opportunity to get out there and, when your time permits, you're going to be able to hear from shooters, what it is they're hoping to get. And because it is a different environment than USPSA.
It is. And going into this, I know I've actually set some time away from, a couple companies that I'm involved in. And it's mostly going to be weekends free now. It was, I did have to do some weekend stuff. One of my businesses is I'm a charter captain. A lot of people like to go out on Saturdays. So I've just kind of committed to not doing weekends for the foreseeable future so that I can get to a lot of these matches. I was working basically 6 days a week, either involved heavily in USPSA, running 2 businesses or whatever, and then taking Sundays off to be able to go enjoy the sport. But I know that I do have to get out and spend a lot of time at Steel Challenge and Multigun. That is definitely part of the plan. You and I talked about, I believe it was West Florida Steel Challenge, West Florida.
Yep. That's exactly correct. That's coming up in April. And
so I'll likely wind up actually either working that match or shooting it on staff day and then talking to people. But
excellent.
I'm definitely going to be more present in that environment.
Yeah, that and the nice thing about that match and the other level 2s that happen around the state are the fact that you're getting some shooters that are coming in from outside of the state but still in the area. Steve is a good example.
Yeah, and
Steve's in Georgia.
To be friends with, and I'm fortunate to be friends with some guys that they dabble in both, right? Like Jamie Bondi and stuff like that. He runs a match in Georgia. So,
wait a minute. Hang on. We got to stop right here. Jamie, that worthless bum?
Yeah.
If I would have known that, we wouldn't have had you on the podcast. Yeah, we love Jamie. He's awesome. I'm helping him out with the sponsorship stuff for the South Georgia match. He's the best of what the sport has to offer for sure. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, such a good dude. He keeps things fun, and I think that's what we need to do, right? There's so much, you guys know, there's so much drama within like the entire organization, whether it's USPSA, Steel Challenge, everything. There's so much drama right now that it's almost like we're losing why we do this. I started this because I wanted to have fun, and that's it. I think people are just taking things way too seriously. There's a lot of people that are kind of getting out of line as far as what they're saying about other people that's not really deserved.
Well, wait a minute, Kyle. I thought, as a range master, don't you make like thousands of dollars every match you are the range master at? I mean, didn't you join this to make a lot of money in the organization?
I've been doing this a little while. I don't think I've ever actually had a net profit at any match I have ever worked.
I hope everybody understands my sarcasm there. I always said you are going to spend way much more money than you're ever going to quote unquote earn at this game.
Yeah, you're at best you're hoping to offset like your travel costs. That's at best. You're definitely not offsetting food costs and all the other stuff that you incur, but especially not ammo. Like right now, there's no way you're offsetting that cost.
No. Even I mean, I've always joked, and I say this with love in my heart to the Steel Target Paint team, because I feel very fortunate about being on that team, and but I've always joked about that I was going to create that TechWear shirt that had a picture of my wallet, and it was going to be on the back, and it was going to say my sponsor.
Exactly. Yeah. Line up all the credit cards, take a picture of them, put it on a shirt. American Express, Visa, Discover.
I'd like to thank all my sponsors for the 1% kickback that I get after spending money with them.
Well,
Yeah,
we got to get those
I'm-
cashback rewards up, Jeff.
Yes, I need to find a better credit card.
I'm sitting here in my shop and I've got a lot of my plaques that I'm looking at. There's a lot of money sitting on this wall.
Oh, that's great. Well, super. Well, Kyle, is there anything else you'd, just like to freeform add to, this discussion here? I mean, simple as, why should people, when the vote, well, so let's bring that up. When is the vote going to be for the A6 director?
It's not until 2023.
Okay.
And I toyed with the decision. I made USPSA Open Nationals that I was going to run. First person I sat down with and talked to is our current Area 6 director, Bruce Wells. I think that's only the right thing to do. If I'm going to be running against somebody, I want him to hear it from me, not through the grapevine.
Mm-hmm.
So once I decided that, the decision was, should I announce early, like I am right now, and deal with all of the craziness that I know is going to happen, or should I, hold off? And I ultimately made the decision to announce now, even though the election isn't for another full year and a couple months,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm going to be traveling all over the place, working matches, trying to get out to Steel Challenge as much as possible. And I want people to have the opportunity to come up and talk to me and tell me what they want. I think anything that directly affects the membership should be, we should poll, we should do some sort of collection method where we know what people want, and my vote would directly reflect that. I think where a lot of what I said on the director side, the board side comes, is the vision for USPSA. But as an area director, it's 100% representing you guys.
Okay, Steve is going to talk to you about wanting this new revolver division. He's nuts. Do not listen to him. Okay.
All right. Check this out. When we get done, I'll send you some pictures. I'm working. I'm on day 2. I'm looking at it right now. I've got a 617 6-inch iron sight that I've got about 10 hours engraving on it, and about another 10 hours to go. And it's just a shame to have such a sexy gun sit in the safe. So you got to have a division to shoot it in, right, Jeff? No, Jeff? And are we still connected?
Is this thing on?
So what you're saying is we should have something like a not for score division where it's just, you just look good, come out in your purple velour outfit with your sexy gun and shoot a division for no score?
Now I could do that. I've got some interesting clothes I could wear to something like that. I could support something like that.
Only if you ban wearing wigs. Then I'm in.
Hey, that
ban
wig
wearing
hat
wigs.
is
That's
awesome. I
the
have.
costume.
Okay.
So that actually brings up a pretty cool thing. So Jeff's familiar with it, Steve. I don't know if you are, but every year we have the monster match down here, which has this, essentially a big Halloween match. One of the things that I love about it now is that we've switched from just a single match. So we're starting to do a lot more league matches where we're able to share clubs essentially. So one club hosts 5 or 6 stages, the next club has 5 or 6 stages, and on and around through state, and you ultimately wind up with a league champion. I think that's such a cool idea. I'm really glad that Practice Score came out with that, because it does present a whole new dimension to how we can run matches and scoring.
Absolutely. And I think I shot the first half. It was at the WAC. I unfortunately had a commitment that I wasn't able to make the second half, but I love the idea because it also gets people out to these other ranges, gets them shooting them, realizing that there's a potential. I mean, I know for myself, years ago, I used to go down to Punta Gorda, which is about 2 hours from me, to shoot a Wednesday night match. Drive 2 hours to shoot the 4-hour drive to our 4-stage Wednesday night match, and had a blast. And of course you get to meet new people because, you don't normally see them coming up to the WAC. I mean, many of them do. Many of those locals, Dave Jenkins was at the Florida State match. Ian McPherson, there was a Jason Olson. A lot of these guys that shoot Punta Gorda did come up to our match, but you don't see them during the week. You don't see them maybe even on the monthly matches. You just see them at the majors. And so, you get to see people more and of course do more shooting. And it's a good thing. I enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun. And it also, I don't want to say rewards because you still have to perform, but the people that are going to support more clubs have the ability to be more of a league champion than just the people who support one club. This is something that has existed. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that can translate across all the type shooting too, right? It's USPSA itself, Steel Challenge, and multi-gun. I think we can do something like that across all of them, and it would be interesting, right?
Absolutely. Well,
I
was going to bring up in Pennsylvania, while it's not Steel Challenge, it is still steel shooting. I like the idea of being able to do it with Steel Challenge, where they have 7 clubs within. I don't know, Steve, do you know, are they within hour and a half of each other?
It's probably somewhere in there, Jeff.
Yeah. And, they've done this league for years where, in the course of a year, you have to go to at least, I don't know what it is. Let's just say for sake of argument, you've got to go to each club twice. And that then qualifies you for the league championships. Something of that nature. And, I know in the past they've given out, Dillon presses, and my guess is probably guns, but somebody put a lot of effort into making that league successful and making people want to do it by providing those prizes, more than just the accolades of being the league champion. You actually, won something of substance, like you might pull off at a prize table at a major match.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was
probably
cool.
better.
So,
I won our league championship, and I won actually it was an awesome prize, probably the most useful prize I've ever won, but it was a Husqvarna chainsaw.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That is pretty cool.
So it was a Halloween themed match, right? So one of the stages was start hand touching chainsaw, and so we just gave away the chainsaw, and I wound up winning that one. So it was interesting, cool. But at the same time, it's probably the most useful thing I've won.
Yeah. Better than the left-handed Glock mags that you may have won in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's never happened to me.
I could remember being at matches and they're calling out the random numbers of tickets that were given out and for a prize and going, I don't want to win. Don't pick my number. I don't want to win. I don't want to win that. So, all right. Well, Kyle, is there anything else you'd like to add in closing? This has been great talking with you.
Yeah, I think in closing, right, I need to hear from people. I think that's the most important thing. The way that it all works is it is impossible to talk to everybody person to person. It's virtually impossible. The best way to get a hold of me is on Instagram or Facebook. I also have an email. Instagram is style.
So I shouldn't read out your phone number. You don't want me to do that?
No. Actually, at a certain point, I probably will give that out because Bruce Wells actually has done an amazing job. I think that there are certain things that Bruce has done, and I can respect anybody that volunteers the amount of time that he has over the years to an organization that really he doesn't get anything from. And that's one of the things he does really well. He's given out his phone number. If you want to get a hold of Bruce, you usually can. Like everybody, he has other things that I'm sure take up a lot of his time, so it might take a little bit longer than normal, but he's always responded to me. He's always done a good job of being communicative. I think he's done a really good job at that. And likely I'll wind up giving out my phone number also, or getting a second phone, just because I've always kept my personal phone away from the business side of things so that I don't get inundated. And my wife would have probably killed me if my phone was going off 100 times a minute. But Instagram, Facebook, I have an email. It's Stevens4A6, 4 is FOR, A6 at gmail.com. I really just want to hear from people. I want to know what you want. And it gives me over a year to gather data to figure out what people want and how I can best represent you. That's the most important thing.
Excellent. Well, I don't think anybody could ask for anything more from a director. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So thank you.
For sure. Same here. It was really nice meeting you today, and thank you for your time.
Yes, we look forward to seeing you on the range.
All right.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Again, if you didn't hear, Kyle's email is Stevens4A6 at gmail.com. And I will post it on the link when I post this on the podcast Facebook page. Hope everybody enjoyed this. Hey, Steve, how do we end every one of these? Give out that discount code.
Yeah, it's ST Podcast 10 for 10% off anything that we sell on ragestore.net.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.